The year was 2011. Now, some of you guys know about me. I grew up in New York City. Yes, that was me on Gossip Girl, like, stop asking. And it's a great place to grow up. When you're a kid, you know, it's museums, lots of different cultures, there's rats everywhere. It's exactly what you want in a neighborhood. And it's actually not that fun when you're a teenager. And people think it's like glamorous life, Gossip Girl, like cocaine. No. Not at all, actually. I really could have used some cocaine in high school. It's incredibly boring to be like a horny teenager in Manhattan because it's hard. You're just trying to like get fucked up and like fingered on the weekends, but you can't. Let me explain. Everyone in New York lives in tiny apartments. Like, logistically, it's just not gonna work. There's literally nowhere for you to get fingered. But in the suburbs, you know, everyone's got like an attic or a basement with a pool table you could get fingered on. So in Manhattan, you pretty much just gotta finger yourself. And that's not the same. It's better. So it's super boring just being like a teenager in New York, but something happens for you, and it happened for me when I was in the 11th grade, when you kind of graduate to the next level of socialization and you start going to clubs. And to some people it sounds crazy. Like I told this story in Milwaukee and those hillbillies were like, "You were going to a club at 16?" And I was like, "Yes, I was, partner." But if you're cool, like, you know it's not that crazy. So I started going clubbing when I was 16, but the type of clubs I was going to in the 11th grade were hardly clubs. They were flubs, okay? They were not legitimate institutions. They didn't even have bouncers or like velvet ropes. They had human traffickers in the basement. But when you're 16, a vodka cranberry is a vodka cranberry. Who the fuck are you to judge other people? Woo, yeah. So we did what we had to do. And I fell in love with clubbing at a very young age. Like, I'm still in love with clubbing. I think they're so magical. Like, honestly, if you're ever looking for me, just check the local club. I'm probably asleep there or something. I think that clubs are so special, and you can have these like magical moments, like take all these pictures and make all these friends, and then also not remember any of it. And I find that to be really special. So I fell in love with clubbing at 16, and I'll never forget the night me and my friends got into a real club. Legitimate, had a liquor license, okay? It was fancy. So we roll in, and it's so crazy. I remember so many weird details about that night because it was destined to be the night of my life. I remember I was wearing like a very bold red lipstick, which was very daring of me. Yes, I know. And I was telling everyone my lipstick, yeah, oh, you like it? It's Chanel. Which was true. I was just being so fucking annoying about it. I'm like, oh, Chanel. No, it looks like channel pronounced Chanel. Can you take a picture of me? Oh, my lipstick? Chanel! I was also telling everyone the truth, which was that the lipstick actually belonged to my great-grandmother. Which is fucking disgusting. But I think, like, back then, I thought it was like an antique. But now I'm telling you, I'm like, that's fucking ew. Lipsticks aren't meant to survive the Holocaust, okay? Throw it out, you cheap bitch. So I'm walking in. Me and my friends couldn't believe we got into this club. We looked like we were 6 years old. And we were just feeling ourselves. I remember I was wearing like a leather jacket draped over my shoulders, which is like such a girl in a club thing to do, you know? Because it gets hot in the club, you know? And I like to keep my jacket on because I'm not the type of girl to just like take it off and show you my upper arms, you know? Call me old-fashioned, but like get to know me first. So I was with a bunch of guys and girls. Yes, I used to hang out with the guys, yeah. And we split up. We got to the club, we split up. Guys went somewhere and all the girls did what girls do. We found like an elevated surface to just perch on. We're sitting up on this booth, like looking around, feeling ourselves, feeling good. But being a girl in a club is actually incredibly difficult because you pretty much spend the entire time trying not to sweat. You're fighting your natural bodily instincts. You're like, fuck. Looking at your hairline like, bitch, I blow-dried you for 3 motherfucking hours, you better stay dry. Because you know, once that sweaty upper lip comes out, the Sula, once that Sula comes out, it's time to go home. Or when that last bit of sweat makes its way down your back and into your butt crack, call the Uber, we're going home. So it's hard to be a girl in a club because you want to have fun, you want to dance, you want people to buy you drinks. Nobody's gonna buy you a drink for a girl who's just standing there, you know? But you can't sweat. So what do? You do that dance move where it's like a lot of this, you know, it's a lot of upper body movement, so you don't overexert and start to sweat. So it's like, it's very casual, it's like a... You know, it's a lot of upper body movement, but absolutely nothing below the waist. So we're all up there, like, feeling ourselves. I felt like I was, like, fucking Blair Waldorf, okay? Well, I was like the fat Blair Waldorf. And we're just up there minding our own business, feeling like socialites in New York City. Got my red lipstick, and I'm just minding my own business. When all of a sudden, I don't even know how to describe what happens next, because it's almost like I feel, like a finger go up my ass. Oh, right. And that's because it was, in fact, a finger going up my ass. And I'm shook. Because if you know anything about me, I grew up in a very, you know, tight-knit, Orthodox Jewish community where fingers just weren't really put up butts a lot. And no, you know, no judgment if they were. I just wasn't involved in those types of, like, group chats. So I turn around, there's this little man standing there, like, hysterically laughing, and I'm perplexed. I'm like, do I know you? It was the most bizarre social interaction in the history of social interactions. I freaked out. I, like, hopped off my booth, and I, like, ran over to some of the guys. You know, I'm like, David, Adam, John. You know, I was looking for guys, because, like, when you're a teenager, you think that, like, men are in charge, they rule the world, you know, but then, like, you marry one. And you're like, oh. Oh, you want me to change a light bulb? Okay, cool, yeah, I got you, boo. But I was naive back then. I thought they could help. I thought they were problem solvers. So I'm, like, running around the club with my fucking red lipstick. And I find them, and I'm like, you guys, I really don't even, like, know how to say this, but, someone just put their finger up my ass. And these kids are like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I really don't know how else to say it. A finger was put up my ass. And it was very sweet. You know, they wanted to help. They jumped to the rescue. They're like, who? Who was it? We're gonna go get him. And you know me, I was like living for the attention. Boys were finally talking to me. Really playing into the whole damsel in distress thing. And I thought that they could help. You know, in my mind, when you're in high school, like the boys in your grade, they're the men of the world. You know, they look like Roger from the Jersey Shore, you know? I thought that they could really help, when in reality, they were like 90-pound Jewish kids with glasses. Like, I don't know the extent that they could help, but like I said, I was living for the attention. So they're like, who was it? I'm like, it was him over there. So they go, you know, they're walking all macho. They're walking like they had a finger up their ass. And about halfway there, they stop dead in their tracks, and they come back, and they're like, Claudia, do you know who that is? And I'm like, him? Oh, yeah, I'm like, pretty sure that's the guy who put his finger up my ass. And they go, no, that's Cuba Gooding Jr. And I'm like, who? Guys, forgive me, it was 2011. He hadn't played the iconic role of O.J. Simpson yet. He was just the guy from Snow Dogs, okay? Forgive me for not recognizing him immediately. And I didn't care. I said, I don't care, go, defend me. So what do? They've never met a celebrity before. They go over and they're like, bro, fucking Snow Dogs, bro. You're the man, bro. Nobody defended me. And I was mortified, but I feel like I learned a very valuable lesson, because when you just grow up a woman in the world, you just think justice is gonna serve itself up on a platter for you, when that is not the case. Sometimes you gotta get your shit together and put that justice up yourself. So do you wanna know what I did? I went home. And I went to sleep. Peacefully, actually. And I never did anything about it, ever. Except tell everyone. Because to me, that's like so embarrassing for him. That's worse than any sort of revenge. Like, you wanna put your finger up my ass? Fine, I'm telling everyone. And I have been telling this story for years. Any opportunity, any radio interview, podcast interview, web show, I don't give a shit. I'm on iCarly, you know I'm telling that story. Telling everyone, and nobody has given a shit, like nobody cared. But I'm sure you saw last year, Cuba Gooding Jr. was in the news again because he did it again. He grabbed some girl's ass in a club. I'm sure you saw it, and they got it on tape. And it was a whole news story because a girl called the police. And I was like, oh. Good call. Literally never occurred to me. And of course, it was such a big news story that anything I had ever said about the situation was picked up in like every media outlet. I was on the cover of every website. It was press I could only dream of. Just not about this, you know? Every major, well-respected publication talking about my butthole. And I'm sorry, it's just not what I want to be known for.